I am so disoriented right now. So disoriented. I was asleep, I feel like 15 minutes ago. I completely overslept all my alarms. I woke up to Craig ringing my doorbell. I'm halfway through a gosh darn nightmare about the boy I like. Like I'm a 12-year-old girl. We're sitting across at a cafe while he's telling me he wants to be with this girl who's my physical opposite in every way possible. Like a petite, exotic-looking person. And I'm just large and white like a loaf of Mrs. Baird's bread.
Okay. And now
I'm here and I have to be on camera. I forgot to do my makeup. I forgot to do my hair. And I'm just thinking about the fact that the boy I like in an imaginary scenario chose another female over me.
Are you the type that gets angry at someone for something they did in a dream to you?
No, but I get heartbroken.
So I'll tell my version of events. For those that don't know much about me, I'm a huge true crime fan, like can't get enough. The downside to that is that every time I haven't heard from someone in a time that I should have heard from them, they've been murdered. So when I texted you and said, I'll be there in 10 minutes, and you didn't respond, that was slightly out of character. Mm-hmm. Then when I arrived, I texted again. I said, here, period. No response. 2 minutes elapses. I call. No answer. I wait another 2 minutes. I call again. No answer. Now Caitlin is no longer with us. I resort to ringing the doorbell.
That's what did it.
and nobody answers the door. And I said, okay, I'm going to look at the clock. Mm-hmm. It's like 10 or 11:32 or something. And I was like, if it hits 11:45, I think I have to call the police and do a welfare check. And luckily, I got a text back that said, oh my God, so sorry. Just woke up.
I didn't say, oh my God, or sorry, I don't think. I think I just said, missed my alarm, 3 minutes.
And normally I'm quite neurotic, and most people would think that I would be upset in this scenario. But when I go that far down the path, and I'm like peeking in your window to make sure I don't see like a body or bloody footprints or something like that, and you're like, oh, so sorry, I'll be down in 3 minutes anyways. I'm like, I'm just glad you're alive. Just glad you're alive, because at this point I was going down the darkest path possible.
That's a bar I can clear most days. I'm so happy to learn that that's all I got. Welcome to the Texas Poker Experience, y'all. My name's Caitlin Komeski. I got my co-host Craig Sear right here. Craig is going to tell us a little bit about our sponsors for this week, right, Craig?
Yes, back again, Double Down Casino Events. If you've got a poker game you want to play at home with your buddies, don't play on your dining room table. Don't play on your kitchen island. For God's sakes, do not play on a glass table. That is just the worst. You can't shuffle the cards. You can't pick up the chips. And the
noise, my lord, the noise.
You need a little bit of padding. You know, I dealt a private game last night for some like oil tycoons from West Texas and whatnot. And
Are there any single men there that like large loaves of white bread?
I'm not sure. I can inquire.
Can you make the proper inquiries? I'm driving myself crazy.
Those folks show up and they see, a proper poker table that's got, padded armrests. It's got cup holders built in. It's got a proper felt. It's got padding. And they just, for people like that can afford anything.
You're like, I even keep a leprechaun under the table that gives everybody calf massages.
A couple people showed up and, I asked it, hey, can you help me move this big table out of the way? Because we're going to put the poker table. And they're like, oh, we're going to play on an actual poker table? I'm like, yes, you guys are going to put $30,000 on the table. We're not playing on a glass dining room table. Like,
treats for the boys.
We're not doing it. So, yeah, Double Down Casino Events will give you anything that you need. It's not just poker, but being that this is a Texas poker podcast, I kind of wanted to let everyone know that, we will send a table, a dealer, the chips, everything that you need to your home, your business, wherever you want to host the poker game. Dealer will take care of everything, and you can go on the website, check it out, www.doubledowncasinoevents.com. Also on social medias as Double Down Casino Events, and you can also give a call, 512-945-2363, and get it set up, get a quote. Also, I just figured it's time to just go ahead and just shill my own company here, Sear Poker Tables, affectionately known Night Owl Poker Tables on Instagram. You can check out some of the stuff we've done. And that's all I'm going to say about that. With us today is one of my customers, one of my most recent, one of my most favorites. We have Big E, owner of Red Star Social, and a piece of Texas poker royalty, in my opinion. someone that's been involved in the industry for a very, very long time, knows a lot of people. A lot of people know him. And E, tell us a little more about yourself. Tell us your background.
I want to say something first about your table business.
Okay.
Craig did the tables at Red Star. They're amazing. They turned out 10 times better than I'd hoped. And I strongly recommend using him if you need some tables built or even refelted. He did a great job.
Well, thank you.
So back to your question. I've been in the poker industry around Austin 20 plus years. We've played home games together for years. A few years ago, I started working at Austin Poker Palace as a floor man on the weekends and a couple days a week. Brought all my friends and past players and to that place, and it was very successful. It turned out very well. There was often running 6-7 tables. Pandemic happened. I don't know. The owner, for whatever reason, sold it to Sam, and it became the Palms. And then recently, they were not doing well, and I came in and purchased it. Very happy to be back in the business. We are honoring the old Austin Poker Palace time as well as the Palms time. Whenever it became Palms, they didn't honor all the hours for whatever reason. I don't know what all that was about, but we are honoring it. Our first month, we have 400 members. We've ran over 24 hours, multiple days. So very successful. Very, very happy with the first month. It's so great to see all the old friends and players and compadres. The
APP crowd, I've been in there. I think I've played 5 sessions, maybe 4 since you've opened. And it feels very much like the APP of old to me.
Yeah, it's coming along.
I was pleasantly surprised that the old time from APP was honored. That was 3 years ago at this point, 2.5 years ago at this point. That wasn't advertised to me. That wasn't promised to me or anything like that. I went in and I paid my membership and I pre-bought some time. And then Laura said, we've also got, I think I had like 9 hours worth or 10 hours worth extra. And that's awesome. I wasn't asking for that, but it's a pleasant surprise. So yeah, I've played 4 or 5 sessions. The action's been really, really good. Dealers are good. You've got a really good network.
I got a great staff. Most of them have worked with me in the past. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised. Mostly I just picked up the phone and said, "Hey, I'm doing this." They're like, "I'll quit right now. I'm on my way."
I'm in.
That's loyalty, hun.
Yeah.
Wish a man would do that for me. I think one thing that's so excellent about Red Star that it is shared with both its predecessors, Palms and APP, is the location, right? So it's about a mile and a half, 2 miles away from the Domain, which is sort of the downtown away from downtown for those that aren't native to Austin. It's like a night spot. There's a bar hopping area down on Rock Rose Avenue. It's very, very central location. It's not too far from downtown or campus area, but it's also accessible from the outward suburbs like Leander or Cedar Park or Round Rock, Georgetown area. So I think that's like a huge strength. Do you think that's probably why that room has persisted and remained a poker room for so long?
Absolutely. It's an excellent location, and it's also why I wanted that particular place. I was going to open it in another location. I actually had a place picked out. Already was in the process of building tables for it when I found out that they were willing to sell. So I definitely just dropped all that, went over there and bought it. You know, it took some time, but we got it all ironed out.
Yeah, that location is great because if you're on 183, you can just jump off 183 and you're there. If you're in the Domain, you can just get there. If you're in South Austin, you can come up Mopac. You take the 183 exit and exit immediately for Burnett and take a right turn. You can get there 30 seconds
Lickety split.
off of Mopac.
And it's right there next to Bon Air, especially when I was playing at Palms. I played at Red Star yesterday. I played the 5:10, 2 o'clock game on Thursday. Come join us sometime, y'all. But I got a burger, just walk over, grab my burger. And a lot of times that bar became like sort of a central hub for me and my friends, especially because of the location. Like I have a lot of friends that live in Leander or north of Parmer. And like us meeting at Bon Air is perfect because I live south of downtown.
There's a lot of businesses in that strip mall that the poker players just love.
Yeah, there's a Pluckers as well. The
Chili's, La
sushi
Blue.
ramen
Sushi,
bar that
yeah.
was closed the whole time Palms was in business is now back opened. I saw a couple people grabbing sushi yesterday that looked super num-nums. There's La Blue, which is this Vietnamese restaurant.
I love that.
Oh,
place.
that's a great place.
Gosh, there's I think
love
that's
that
owned by,
place.
is that Teddy's
Tebby.
business?
Tebby.
Tebby. Great poker
guy.
player, member
Yeah.
of the community,
There's
support
Hook
his
and
business.
Reel. Hook and
Yeah.
Reel. There's a lot there.
There's that retail store where you can get all of your equestrian uniform needs, horse and saddle or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to like rate at the poker
There's
table.
also, is it called Lee Massage? Lee Massage? That place was like, in the APP days, they
Yes.
would run some sort of special where they like closed at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever. But the last hour, because they can't start an hour massage at 9:30 if they close at 10. So people would go in and get that like, last 40 minutes that you're available, and they would get a great
Yeah,
price.
but why
And there were
would you
people
do that when
would
Texas Royal Touch supplies Red Star Social
Right.
licensed massage therapists for $1.50 a minute?
Right, absolutely. But if you're more of the lay down and enjoy your massage versus massage
I
while
mean-
you're donking off, $600
Maybe.
bucks. I like both. I'm down for both. Yeah, I'm not going to walk away from a poker game to lay down and get a massage, but some people did. So, yeah, they would literally just leave the stack right there, keep paying their time, and just go and get a 40-minute massage and walk back over all relaxed and stack the money.
So, Big E, one thing I'm really curious to know about is I am new to Austin. I feel like by the time I arrived in Austin, the poker clubs were already opening. The first club I played at was Full House, and I found Texas Card House right after that. What do you think the major shift was when the poker games went from being underground to being legitimized in brick and mortar businesses? What do you think the main differences are?
Well, I mean, obviously, being in the public view versus in the, in the private house where nobody knows what's going on, whatever, there's a way more people that the game is now available to. Before, you had to know somebody who knew somebody because you have to trust everybody. People are carrying money and you're going to somebody's house and playing cards. It feels pretty risky. But these days we have security guards and lighted parking lots and people to walk you to your car if you're winning a lot of money or even if you're just a little nervous about it. It's feels a lot safer. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're getting a lot broader spectrum of people.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the topic of safety, I think one thing Craig and I wanted to go over is there's a big poker story that happened out of Houston this week. Legends Card Club has had their second live ammo firing near or around the club. Someone shot up the club. There were bullet holes. You can find them online on the Poker News article. Bullet holes in the TVs. Everyone was on the floor. People got like within a foot of a bullet grazing their head. And go ahead, Craig. Were you
The scary thing about this, according to the story, is it was gunfire from outside, deliberately fired inside. So that's super scary to me because that's just someone indiscriminately firing at a wall, not knowing what or who is on the other side of that wall, not caring. That's super scary. It's one thing, I try not to piss people off, right? But if someone else pisses someone off and they're going to come up, and retaliate by shooting that person. I mean, I'm thinking that shouldn't land on me unless I'm the person that pissed that person off. But when someone's just indiscriminately firing into a crowd or firing into a business from outside of it, that's really, really scary to me.
Scary.
I don't understand why someone would do that in the first place, but also, like you said, that's the second shooting in as many months at this particular club.
Yeah. And there's a lot of speculation. I mean, a lot of people are saying a lot of stuff. One narrative that's going around is that this is, sort of these violent acts are something that are unique to Houston or more prevalent in that community for whatever reason. There's some speculation about what the owners of that club have done to piss off. Maybe if they own money, they signed a non-compete deal and then opened across the street. Or, maybe there's some, I don't know, underground crime, whatnot, that we won't talk about because I love my life. But it points to the broader issue of safety in Texas poker clubs because we got to wonder, would these, like, no one's going to shoot up the Aria poker room, or
Right.
the Bellagio like that. like in established casino resort properties that you don't see these types of events happening. And what is it going to take in Texas for there to be changes? Houston's one of the only towns in Texas where you actually, for most of the clubs, have to walk through a metal detector. At all the clubs in Texas, there's proper signage that you can't carry a firearm. But I mean, I know many people with a concealed carry license here in Austin that like after a session we'll be going out to dinner and they'll be like, oh, hold on a second, and they like pull out their gun and put it in the glove compartment. And it makes me nervous, like if someone ever brought a club into Texas, would there be a shootout because so many people in the room are armed? I think it just points to a broader conversation.
Yeah, the Second Amendment's like one of those tricky things that it tends to be pretty polarized, and much like anything, the people that are way on either side of the issue are probably wrong and the truth lies in the middle. For me specifically, if you were to tell me, like I'd been at a poker game for 3 hours and we're 9-handed in the dealer, and you were to tell me that there's 6 guns in the room, I would say, cool. I feel better knowing that, because if we've been here for 3 hours and anyone had any ill intent, it would have happened already. So these are people that are concealing it. I was none the wiser until somebody told me. I have no problem with that, but it's scary when someone is just going to walk into a place and think that they can just wave a gun around and take the money, or wave a gun around, or just start shooting it from outside, start shooting it inside. That's some scary, scary shit. Yeah,
it points to the conversation that we had with Sam about the need for regulation in this industry. The industry continues to grow and get bigger. More clubs are popping up, and more money, more problems.
Right. I mean, eventually, yes, I think the regulation is inevitable. It's either that or, if enough of these things happen, like we were talking a little before we started recording about how, thankfully no one was hurt in either of these Houston, very, very minor injuries in either of these events at Legends in Houston. But, I mean, when someone gets killed, is that when the law is going to start to care and say, hey, let's look a little more? Don't know. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But, I'd rather go the regulation route than these clubs can't operate anymore route.
Well, sort of the somewhat hilarious thing about Legends in Houston is it's still the most popular club. The day after the shooting, what did they have, like 15 tables? I don't know. They had an insane amount of tables for there being a shooting the day before. They remain the most popular, even though they're the one you're most likely to die in.
They had 2 games going, like 20 minutes after it happened. The cops were still there investigating, and they had 2 live games going. That is crazy. I'm not even cashing out my chips.
Yeah.
I mean, I am out of there.
I'm going home and I'm finding a man to hold me.
I'm probably going home with the chips, send them back with someone the next day to cash them out. Like, I'm not even going back there to cash out my chips.
Who are you going to send? You going to send your wife? Jackie will be fine.
I'll tell someone here's $600 in chips. Just bring me back 400. We'll call it even. So, I wanted to ask you, because I know a little bit more about you. I know that you have other businesses, and I know that you don't need poker in your life. So what is it about poker that keeps bringing you back? And, post pandemic, what's brought you so back? You alluded to that. What's brought you back?
I mean, it's camaraderie, it's family, it's friendship. I love the game. Of course, my family, even when I was 6 years old, we played penny ante poker. I mean, I grew up around poker, and it's comforting. I love it. I took 2 years off, pandemic, I have kidney issues, kind of worried about that. And it was terrible. I'm home and, I tried the online route, and online is okay. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have that same,
no, it's totally different
family feel. I mean, I eat, breathe, and sleep poker. I do have several other businesses. I actually don't have to work anymore. I could just retire, but
baby.
To me, it's not work. It's, it's what I love to do. So it's,
passion businesses are the best businesses.
Absolutely.
One thing that we talk about on here a lot is just the networking that happens at a poker table. And I would equate that. I mean, I also have a background in golf, and people say the same thing. Oh, so many business deals happen on the golf course and whatnot. But same thing. I mean, just networking. It's just so nice to be able to find a dentist, a plumber, a roofer, an insurance guy. I mean, whatever. They all play poker. You can find somebody and deal with someone that you know versus some stranger who's spent a pile of money doing his SEO on Google.
So the other night we had an electrical breaker go out, 10:30 at night. Somebody in the room was an electrician and fixed it that night.
That's convenient.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, that kind of stuff is awesome. In Texas summers here, I mean, knowing an HVAC guy or just knowing someone to say, hey, maybe I don't know an HVAC guy, but hey, you text somebody and they say, oh yeah, I got a guy. He'll come fix it right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you wait 30 minutes? Like, yeah, I can wait 30 minutes. I thought I was going to have to wait 3 days and it's 100 degrees in the house. Yeah, I definitely love the networking in poker. I think it's a far overlooked aspect. A lot of people get wrapped up, in the strategy and the money and everything else, but it's definitely an added value, making so many friends. And
I definitely think that should be one of the main reasons why women in business should be interested in poker. Not only do you get the skills of managing risks and bankroll and gaining confidence, and but I think the networking is absolutely huge. Just what you said, deals going down on the golf course.
Same exact thing. Male dominated,
absolutely.
Not a lot of women. They're just missing out on opportunities just by not being there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely agree. There's been an update in Dallas. We recorded a couple of weeks ago, so we haven't had a chance. We recorded, I believe, the day before. The card club contingent in Dallas won their appeal to the surprise of pretty much everybody in the industry. They were expecting that they weren't going to win that and they were going to have to try the much higher appeals process. But no, they won, which is pretty cool.
That's great.
Read an article about it. The article was just ripe with trite poker terms. It was painful just to read it. But the bottom line of it is that the Board of Adjustments in Dallas has ruled in favor of the card club, saying that when they filed for their CO, they said, we're going to run a poker club and we're going to do it this particular way. And they found that that's what they're doing. Nothing has changed. They didn't lie to the city. They weren't, telling a half truth to the city. They said they're going to run a certain way and they've run that certain way. And there's a lot of jobs that depend on it. And the city has lost that judgment against the card club. So the card clubs are there and they're healthy and they're good in Dallas for now.
Yeah, I mean, but back to echoing the sentiments that Sam, educated us and our audience about last week, is that the county or city DA can really revoke your authorization whenever they feel like it. You don't have to be innocent until proven guilty. So it is still tenuous. And I do think that if you're a lawmaker or an action person in the poker community, I would definitely reach out to Sam Von Kennel about mobilizing and organizing so that we can protect this growing industry in our state.
Right. It is because the law, we're operating in a gray area. It can kind of be gray either way. It could be dark gray or it could be quite white, depending on the DA. And that's kind of what Sam was alluding to. Is I don't recall the name of the one that was just outside of Tyler, but it's kind of a small town, and they closed that one down. And I've heard different things. I've heard they were actually raking the game and just didn't care. But I've also heard that it was just a DA that was like, no, screw you. You're not having poker in my town. I don't want that. So they just kind of took it away. So who knows, unless you're actually boots on the ground there, you're not going to know what actually is going on. But the backstory that I heard in this article alluded to it is that what happened was Champions wanted to open a room in Dallas, and they were promoting a giant tournament series a few months out, and they didn't even have a room yet to host this giant, over $5 million in guarantees tournament series. And that kind of pissed the city off that they were advertising something that they didn't even have license to run yet. And so the city told them no. And 6 months later, TCH Dallas opened. And so Champions, or the ownership contingent of Champions, sued the city of Dallas, saying you can't let them operate when you told us that we can't operate legally. And that's what caused this whole problem. I had heard that, but I wasn't willing to kind of report that.
No, I've heard that as well.
But reading it in that article, it seems pretty legit. So the problem is now, if the city was trying to pull everybody's COs just to win this lawsuit, saying, oh yeah, we didn't mean to, we didn't know that that's what they were going to do, so we don't want any poker clubs. Now that they've lost this appeal, now what happens? Because by the sounds of it, the city's not willing to lose that lawsuit.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their next play is going to be, but for now, it's good. There's poker in Dallas, and the action is insane. I was at the Masters earlier this week, which is like a lifetime thing that I've wanted to go to. And I ran into
sports for boys.
an old like golf acquaintance that I hadn't seen in like 7 or 8 years randomly out there, and he lives in Dallas, and he was telling me that the action is like even better there since, you know, winning this thing is like people are just coming out in droves, and he said the action's just phenomenal there. So
one thing that Sam also brought up last week in this discussion is how the poker clubs need to do a better job of working together and getting along if they're going to sustain and work together to fight, you know, the city or any type of oversight. Well, oversight is fine, but I don't know what word I'm looking for. I know here in Austin, especially, like some of the competition can heat up quite saucily, and the clubs don't really seem. I feel like they feel like there's a limited player pool, and rather than working together to grow the industry, they're fighting over a group of several dozen people.
there are still so many poker players in Austin that don't even know that these clubs exist. The market is so far from closed. It is pretty unbelievable.
There's absolutely room for everyone. There's no reason for us to fight amongst each other. People are going to go where they feel comfortable, where it's closest to their house, where they're taken care of. It doesn't. We can all exist together. We do not have to steal players from each other and backbite and have all these issues. It's really not necessary.
No, it's to the point, like I was playing the TCH live stream earlier this week, and someone was wearing a 52 social hat that they like presumably got a 52 for playing there. And like the management at TCH like gifted them a free TCH hat so that they would take off their 52 hat on their stream and be wearing the TCH hat. And I mean, like, I mean, that is like an on camera, like press thing, something they're doing to promote their club. So like, that's, you know, whatever. But it's like the idea, like sometimes I think, is it at the lodge you were saying where like you're not even allowed to wear like other.
Well, that's what I've heard. I haven't been in the lodge. I haven't been in the lodge, but I've had people say that while wearing other places garb, that they're asked to take it off, that they don't want them promoting in there. But I don't.
Are they just trying to see some titties?
They haven't said that to me. Maybe.
I'm gonna go in there wearing like all like TCH shirt, like short shorts from Red Star, and I'll be like, "Oh, I can't wear that." No.
Do I have to take it all off?
Oh my gosh! I hope no one douses me in Gatorade or something.
Yeah, the infighting amongst the clubs, it can't possibly end well. It's kind of like politics. It's like, it's one thing to sit there and stump for the things that you're for and try to get votes that way, but it gets gross when one politician is like, this guy's got dirty business dealings and this woman, her track record is terrible and blah, blah, blah. It's like when it becomes all this negative press, that's bad for everybody too. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody's got, I'm sure, some things that have happened at their club that they're not proud of, but you just got to like deal with it and try to improve going forward. And like you said, I just think there's so many poker players in this town. There's plenty of room for everybody. It's just
and I think because it was an underground game, there is really this push. And we alluded to this when I was talking to Sam about game organizing for Palms and how I sort of, wasn't the lodge's favorite person for a while because I was actively recruiting inside their walls, because I feel like that is the strategy that most people know, the tried and true. Like if you just like go and play poker other places and ask for numbers and invite them to come play, like people go where they're wanted. So if you're aggressive and persistent enough with recruiting players, that you can drum up business. But like, what if we sort of shifted the whole paradigm and we tried to get some positive local press for poker in general that isn't necessarily unique to one club, and we're more educating the entire city, which is expanding wildly.
And not even just the clubs, honestly. I mean, I deal some private games, some home games, and just recently, one of the games that I deal at, the guy who runs the game went to one of the clubs and found out that he was banned. He was banned a long time ago, and it was, I guess, fairly ambiguous. It was like he was told to leave. Wasn't told don't ever come back necessarily, but he thought he might be banned, and I guess he went there with a group of people, and they told him, no, we're not gonna let you in. You can't come in here because you've recruited players in the past. And he's like, that was like 2 years ago, and that was when you weren't open because of the pandemic. So
think about all the poker players you know. I can't say that I know one that plays at one club.
Yeah.
They play at all of them.
And they
There's
play private
no
games
reason to fight. They're going to play there one day and yours the next, depending on who's playing where and what's going on and what tournaments happening and what stakes. I mean, it's just really not necessary.
I can think on a given day, if I wanted to go and play, it's going to depend on so many factors, and I could end up at 20 different places to play poker in this town on any given day, based on my mood, how much I want to play for, if I feel like talking to people or not. I mean, like where I am in town, what kind of time I have to play.
Yeah.
There's so many places you could land. So, and I'm not going to just only play at one place.
No, it's really funny. Sort of like a conversation starter that I get a lot when I'm bopping around town and playing is when I sit down, they're like, "Oh, where have you been playing? Like, I haven't seen you as much." My answer is always like, everywhere.
Yeah.
I play home games. I play at the Lodge. I play at TCH. I've played at the Oaks a few times and Shuffle a few times. I play at Red Star, especially on that Thursday game. I think one of the things that was really relieving to me when I was no longer under the banner of Palms or like loyal to one specific club is that now I really do get to play where I want, where the action is good, where I feel comfortable.
Oh, and speaking of action, one thing we talked about right before the pod is if you are a bomb pot fan, which I assume you are.
Absolutely.
If you're a bomb pot fan, then Red Star is the place for you, because that place, not only every orbit do you get a bomb pot, there's no cap on the bomb pots. Dealer changes too. So
Absolutely.
It's not uncommon to be there late night. You got 7-handed game, which juicy. A lot of people like the, not full ring game, but it's late, 7 players there. So you're getting a bomb pot every 7 hands, but you're also getting a bomb pot every half an hour, regardless of where that bomb pot button is.
Absolutely.
So it's not uncommon to get a bomb pot and then get another one right after the first one. And then 6 hands later, you get another one. So I mean, personally, I love bomb pots. I love the thought. I love the fact that they're not a solved part of the game. There's still a lot of people that are very, very good at the game that don't fully know. They think they know what the proper strategy is, but they don't fully know because they're so new. It's like the cutting edge of poker right now, I think, is these double board bomb pots.
Yeah, I definitely think Lodge taking the stance that they don't want to do the bomb pots in any except for the high stakes games is, a very, could be a catalyst for a lot of, for how people make their decisions of where they want to play. Yeah. They're not wrong. Let's be fair to the Lodge here. They are not wrong for saying they don't want bomb pots. Bomb pots can break games. It can take a player who's only there with $500, who's there to play for as long as they can make that $500 last. They don't even really expect to go home with it. They know they're going to lose. But Lodge only gets $10 an hour for as long as their ass is in a seat.
Yep.
And if they only last 20 minutes because they get felted by a game they're not even comfortable playing yet, I get it. I fully get it. They are not wrong. But it's sort of, you have to find that balance with keeping your players happy and doing what's best for the business. Are there any other decisions like that in the poker room, that it's that balance between keeping the players happy and doing what's best to keep the doors open?
I think there are all kinds of decisions, from whether what drinks you're serving, or, your however you manage your recruiting, however you manage talking to your players when there's a problem. All these things are definitely play into the play. They're a major factor.
The caps on games or
the caps. Yeah, no cap. Yeah.
That's my favorite thing about playing this new Thursday game at Red Star is that Jaywin, the organizer of it, and I guess y'all collaborated on this, decided to cap it at 3,000 to start. And the game can get massive. There were a couple of stacks north of 8K by the end of the session. But I like that, we can play a higher stakes game where I don't have to commit to bringing, a significant portion of my bankroll to play it. I can't play 5-10 uncapped every day of the week. That's not available to me. So I do like that I have this option where it can be capped, sort of like the Bellagio game, the 5-10 game in Vegas.
Are you ready to do a top 5, Caitlin?
Let's launch into it. Yeah.
This is going to be very Big E and Caitlin heavy because I don't stray too much from the hold'ems. But today's top 5 is the top 5 non-hold'em poker variants. We had a little bit of discussion. I wanted to put short deck on there. You said short deck is still Hold'em. It's just a different deck. So I said, okay, fine, you win. So here are the top 5. Ready, go. Number 5, 5-card draw. Classic. You've seen it in every bad poker scene in every movie you've ever seen.
You know, when I first started teaching the ladies how to play poker, I talk a lot about the ladies I see once a week to teach them how to play poker. Sort of their in was that scene from The Parent Trap, which is that Lindsay Lohan movie. I don't know if that's a reference either y'all get, but like Lindsay Lohan, when she played her own twin, and they're at summer camp in the first, like, you know, act of the movie. They're meeting at summer camp. They don't know they're twins yet, and they're playing 5-card draw. And there's just this impossible hand where the British one goes straight in diamonds, and she has the wheel straight flush. And then the American girl, the American Lindsay Lohan, is like, "Oh, you're good. In your honor," and she turns over a royal flush in spades. You know?
Super common. What was the bad beat jackpot up to at that point?
at the cabin in their summer camp. Yeah. I think it was what do girls do at summer camp? I don't know. 2 pillow fights penalties.
Someone was telling me the other day, they said, 52 Social's got this promo right now. If you make a straight flush with 5-2 of clubs, they will pay like $5,000. I was like, they should pay $5 billion. Because first of all, you have to play that shitty hand. 2, you have to make a straight flush with it. To make a straight flush on any hand with any 2 cards is like 1 in like 50,000 or something like that.
Side note, bad beat jackpots are like so terrible for small rooms. I don't know why they do them. The owners live in fear of them hitting. I remember when the bad beat jackpot hit at Palms when we were not doing well. And and it was Drew. Drew like got beat with aces full of kings or something. And we're all like, "Oh, bad beat." And Melissa's like, "Okay, hold on. Let me like get it for the cameras." I'm just looking over at the other owners, and we're all just like, "Oh, the horror." Because this is like $9K coming out of just like our fucking pocket.
Oh no, where's the money? Do we actually have it here?
We're like, oh no. Like, it was a really dark, sad day. Yeah. I think I was losing that day too. We were all just like,
well, there's
what else can go wrong?
There's also some ambiguity in the law, because like there's a room in San Antonio where they actually take a drop for the bad beat. They take like $1, and
Abby
people
J's
think it's a rake, and I mean
taking
there's some
$1 per 20. Any pot $20 bigger, they're taking $1.
Yeah. Right.
And didn't it get up to 56K or something? And then the owner hit it.
Text I got this morning was 65,000.
Yeah.
I think I got the text this morning.
I mean, it can,
but it's always like the rooms that only have like 1 or 2 tables going to. Like, that day at Pops when the bad beat hit, like there were maybe 12 people in the whole club, and half of them worked there. I was like, no.
I mean, they're doing it to get butts in chairs. I mean, I understand it. It's a way to, again, it's kind of like the bomb pots. It's a way to differentiate. Some people, that is their vision of poker. They always lose. Every time I lose, someone else got a bigger hand, and they're like, well, that one time that I make quads, I'll just go ahead and get it in, because if I lose, I'll win still.
Jackpot.
Okay, great. Good for you. I've never won one. Have you ever won one?
That beat, no.
You have?
7-card stud in Circus like 30 years ago.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I had one that hit on the turn playing 2-4 limit in Scottsdale, and it was live on the turn, straight flush to the king with Jack 9 and quad 10s. And so I was just going to get table share. I wasn't in, but I was just going to get table share, and it was like 110,000, and the dealer counterfeited it with the ace of diamonds on the river. And I was the only one who noticed. Even the dealer didn't realize that it was going to counterfeit it, making the 9 of diamonds no longer play. So the Jack of diamonds improved to a royal flush, but it counterfeited the jackpot, and everyone was like ordering shots and high-fiving and whatever, and the floor guy
you're sick to your stomach.
Yeah. It cost me like $5,200, but it cost these guys like $80,000 or something like that between the two of them. And the dealer even called the floor over, and the floor guy came over, and like within 5 seconds was like, "That no, both cards have to play. That's not a jackpot. Doesn't count." And I was like, "I'm sick. I need to leave."
Nothing worse than celebrating.
I mean, nothing worse than a $5,200 bad beat in a hand that I folded at a 2-4 limit game while I was waiting for a real seat. I thought, wow, this is the luckiest I've ever been. And then like 10 seconds later, like, this is the unluckiest I've ever been, I think.
Whoopsies.
The old
All right.
one-outer.
All right, we got a little derailed. What's number 4, too?
Number
I don't-
4,
okay.
deuce to 7. Tell me how the game works. I don't even know it.
This is my favorite variant of poker. I started playing this game once a week back when Palms was still open. Dan ran a deuce to 7 single draw. That's his favorite variant. And honestly, I feel like that's where I grew a lot as a poker player because it's a bluffer's game. It's a 5-card game. You're dealt 5 cards. You're trying to make the worst hand possible. It's a low ball game, low only. So the nuts is deuce, 3, 4, 5, 7, no flush.
So unlike other low games where like ace to 5 would be the low, but that
No,
in
that would
deuce
be
to
ace
7
high. Ace is always high in deuce 7.
But if you had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that is considered a straight.
That's a
not
straight.
a 6
That
low.
is no. That's not a 6 low. Straights and flushes count against you. Pairs count against you. So it's and with the single draw round, so you're dealt round of betting. Whoever wants to, and then you announce your draw. Out of position goes first, announces their draw. So I'll take 1. If someone's drawing 2 against you, and you look down and you have 10 high, that's a pat. It's a pat all day. Like a jack, I think has like a 55% advantage against any draw, any 1-card draw. So it's a very fun game. It's fascinating. It's a bluffer's game. The pots can get really bloated really quickly, but I think the thing I like about it so much is that there are no community cards. You truly are playing the player, and you're trying to make a terrible hand, and it's just fun to be like nay like a boss.
Probably not fun for a nit like me by the sounds of it.
Oh, you'd hate it. You'd hate it. I'm not inviting you to any of my deuce to 7 single draw games.
Number 3, 7-card stud. I do have some experience in 7-card stud. I
Okay,
played a
y'all
little
have
bit
to
in
talk about
college.
stud. I don't know any of the stud
And
variants.
that's what I cut my teeth on. I played stud for 10 years,
Before
30
Hold'em.
years ago.
Now when people say, are you playing poker, they mean Hold'em.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of why we're doing this list, right? Non-Hold'em
Mm-hmm.
variants. But before, if you were playing poker, if someone said, there's a poker game, it was 7-card
Yes,
stud.
absolutely.
That was it. And 7-card stud, a little different skill set because you see so many cards. So nowadays people talk about blockers, and like when you're playing Hold'em, like blockers, you got 2 cards in your hand. Like there's only 2 possible cards to produce blockers. And 7-card stud, if you're playing full ring, like 8-handed, there is so many cards that you see. And if your memory sucks, I mean,
You're
every
never going to
player's
be good at the game unless you can remember where all those cards are.
yeah,
That's
I
for
mean,
sure.
sometimes you're drawing to a spade flush and you don't remember that 6 spades have been folded already. I mean, you're drawing pretty thin, and that affects the math of the game. It also, every player has their own individual board. It's not everybody playing on one community board. So sometimes, a guy's just betting like hell and his board is raggedy, and you're like, he's either got like rolled up 8s or nothing. One of the two, because his board's just raggedy as all hell. 7-card stud is also the most fun game to fold because you take your board, flip it face down, add it to your down cards, and toss a pile of cards to the dealer.
That's another reason I like deuce to 7 is because you get to throw your whole book, and I always splash my book. I don't like leave it in a nice little pile and just say I'm just like fuck it.
Oh, fuck that.
I throw everyone the dealer's like,
send it. Full send. Full send. Yeah, make the dealer work for their tips. I mean, send it in there. Make it messy.
my favorite is the players that'll like really scrupulously like count out their chip raise and like, okay, 30, and then like splash it. And then
Such
it
a pet
gets
peeve of mine. I hate that. They count out 65 and
Oh,
then
just
throw
so
it.
scrupulously. Or they'll even do like the 2 at a time count out, and then they'll pile it up really neatly, and then just so the dealer has
throw
to
it, yeah.
redo it for everyone, even though he just saw you do it. Okay, so 7-card stud.
Number 2, big game at Red Star. Big O.
Big O, high-low split pot, let's go, baby, 5-card.
So, Big O is 5 cards. Mm-hmm. It is a PLO variant, but there's a high and a low, and 5 cards instead of 4, as we mentioned. So, not always a low. Super fun game because a lot of people, when they're first just learning it, they way overemphasize the low. They're like, oh, I got the nut low, and they're just like jamming money in the pot. They don't even have a high hand. It's like, you're going to get quartered at best.
Yeah.
So it's one of those split pot games, kind of like a bomb pot, where you really kind of want to have some equity on both or just have one of them just absolutely locked up, and preferably not the low. A good friend of mine, pretty good Big O player, he calls it a game of aces, which is pretty much every hand you're playing pre-flop should have an ace in it. I mean, for the most part, because that way you can have outs to the nut low almost always, and you're also going to make a lot of, because you have 5 cards, people make the nuts a lot. So like if you're making sets, you want them to be big sets, not little sets. And so he says aces are very, very important.
First hand of Big O I ever played, I made quads and got beat by a straight flush. And I was like, you would think that would have made me hate the game, but it made me love it. I was like, I love this game.
Yeah.
I want to feel this pain as often as possible.
No, I want to be on the other end, dealing the pain, but still.
And the fun thing in Big O too is that a lot of people, they don't have a full understanding of the game, but they're like, once they start playing Big O, they come to a Hold'em game because there might not be a Big O game going. It's not like a super, super popular where everyone knows how to play it. So sometimes you go there and it's like, oh, well, the Big O game is going to start at 7:00. So you're like, all right, I'll play Hold'em for a couple hours. Or vice versa. They're playing Big O, that game breaks, and they're just like, well, I still want to play. So they go and they play Hold'em. They get 2 cards and they're like, how the fuck do you make a hand in this game? I've only got 2 cards. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I have to have exactly a 10 and a 7 to make a straight here? This is bullshit.
100%.
Last one, PLO. This is probably the game that is gaining the most steam, I guess.
Everybody want to get plowed. Pot Limit Omaha.
Yeah, Pot Limit Omaha is gaining steam. I think the Andrew Nemes of the world are helping this a little bit because he's kind of got the PLO bug. There's some big PLO games happening in Round Rock, both 52 and the Lodge.
Yeah, and the bomb pots have predominantly shifted to the PLO variant.
Yeah, people wanting to play like single board PLO with preflop action, because of their exposure to it in the bomb pot. That's a good point. Big pots, variants galore because the equities run super close together, similar to short deck, but you got 4 cards. It's easier to make big hands.
And it's a gambler's game. It's an absolute gambler's game. You get to see more cards, and your nutted draws are going to be the best, cards to play. So the money can really get piled in there. And I know the PLO games all around town, including the Lodge and 52 Social and Red Star, get absolutely banana sandwich with the Axion.
So congratulations to PLO. I'm sure if they were here, they would want to thank their parents for supporting them. They have made number 1 on the list. Dare I say, I really think that short deck is the PLO for noobs, right? It's the PLO for gamblers. It's a gambler's game. It's very draw heavy. The equities run very close together. Dare I say, I ride hard for short deck. But something I was talking to you about right before we started recording is at some point I would like to run some sort of meetup game for those that are sick enough to want to play poker with me or with you. And I think I would like to spread a short deck game. I think I could talk you into it. I think you like to gamble.
Yeah, I'll do what I'll do. I don't give a shit. Yeah, what do you want, baby? Yeah, I'm there.
So I'm thinking we set something up at Red Star at some point, set a date in the future, and we'll promote it a little bit on social media, and we'll go over there.
Sounds fun.
Play with.
Sounds good. But when he says we'll promote it on social media, he means Caitlin, right?
Caitlin will promote it on social media. Craig will not.
Craig will take the credit. Craig will ask why it's late.
Correct. And then Caitlin will say, why didn't you share it? And I'll go, I thought I did share it. I thought I wasn't supposed to share it. You yelled at me last time because I shared it wrong. I'm a social media moron. We'll stick to what we're good at.
Whatever. It's weaponized incompetence, and we see through you.
There's a reason that you don't upholster the poker tables, and there's a reason that I don't run the Instagram, okay? Let's just put it that way.
Fair enough.
Okay, 1 hand review. I have a really, really dynamite one. Okay. This was at a private game. This is a 1-2-5, 3-blind game or 4 straddle. It's kind of, people call it different things, but 1-2-5, very, very deep.
Yeah.
Most players at this game, I would say, were at least 400 to 500 big blinds deep. And big blind, I mean the 5. I'm calling the 5 the big blind because it is a 3-blind game. Thousands and thousands. I mean, there was like 30 grand on this table, and they were like 8-handed. It was a big, big, big game. And the 3 players that ended up involved in this pot were 3 of the 4 deepest stacks on the table. So it was massive.
She chonk.
Have the hand history here on my phone. So again, 1-2 game, but with the $5 straddle on mandatory. So there's 2 calls. Hijack makes it 30, which is a 6x open. Small blind raises to 85. and it folds to the hijack, who makes it, let's see, 250. No, this is flop action. So flop is 4, 5, 6, and there's a bet, raise, call on the flop of 4, 5, 6. Turn is an offsuit king. There was a heart draw on the flop, so turn's an offsuit king, and there's a lead for 1,000. Just 1,000, which is like a little bit less than pot at this point because there was, again, a ton of action. Okay. And the small blind's now thinking about it, shoves for like 6K.
Why not?
Then a call from the big blind. Now back to the other guy who has less, but still piles, and he goes ahead and calls. There's discussion. Do we want to run it more than once? Nobody's tabled their hand. Nope. Third player, the big blind player, says, no, let's just run it once.
Rip it.
So hands are tabled at that point. It's probably the most scared that I've ever been to turn over a river, because the hands that are tabled are on the flop, because the king had no meaning for anybody. On the flop, we have 6s, top set, 4s, bottom set, and 7, 8, nut straight. So if this board pairs, it's literally going to change hand. I mean, the 4s are dead to 1 out, but it's going to change. I mean, the main pot was like 11.5, and the side pot was like 6K. So, I mean, there's 17,000 changing hands if this board pairs a river. Yeah. It's like a brick offsuit 10 on the river. What a dream spot for the guy that flops the straight there, because not only is he not up against a heart draw, he's up against set and set. They're holding each other's boat out. So like there's 2 outs removed for both players to make a boat against him. And the hand holds for like 11.5, and the 6s hold for a 6K side pot. And
that's poker, baby.
That about broke the game. It didn't go much longer after that, but that was an intense hand. I mean, when we talk about Texas action, I mean, this is like advertised as a 1-2 game. And imagine if you showed up and this is like one of the first hands you see, you're like, did I just see a $16,000 pot? I mean, I'm kind of out on that. I brought $600.
Did they chip you a black one? Tip you a black chip?
There was some tips. There were some tips thrown on that one.
You maybe you came out on top. You the big winner. Yeah, Kreger's the dealer, the big winner.
The big pots like that. Yeah, there's some good tips. Those are good for Craig.
That's what's great about home games, is that it's like the staff is the biggest winner of every night. So like 100%.
Yeah.
Are we ready for some harsh but fair?
I think I am.
Okay.
I am definitely not, but I'll give it a try.
Okay, we're going to encourage you to be mean to us.
Let you go last so you can kind of...
Okay. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Craig, we've gone over how thin you are and how angular your body and face are. Today I want to talk about your cleft chin. You look like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast. Like you're looking for the most beautiful girl in town. You could fit... That's a valley in your face, that cleft chin. That is,
You're referring to my chin dimple.
It's called a cleft chin because it looks like someone split you open in your damn pointy chin, as if your face didn't need even more angles.
I've always heard butt chin, because if you put it like that, it makes a butt.
Yeah, you have an ass on your face. Ass face.
A hairy ass.
Okay, and you're giving... Okay. Receive your feedback, sir.
Oh, that's... Yeah. Harsh but fair.
Exactly. For those of you who don't know what we're doing harsh but fair. We're mean to each other, and then we make each other not rebut it and just say harsh but fair. All right, so that's Craig. Now I gotta do E. All right, E. I was like the queen of palms, and I didn't get a single phone call from you asking me to do social media or organize a game. Now I'm just like some other, and I probably would have said no in my defense. In your defense, I probably wouldn't have taken you up on it because I was pretty burnt out from that stuff. But I didn't even get a phone call. So now you say harsh but fair.
Okay, harsh but fair.
All right, Craig, your turn.
All right. Caitlin, we already alluded to this, and you must have known this was coming, but you sent me into an anxiety-filled fit of rage earlier today when I thought you may or may not have been alive anymore. We spoke late last night, outlining the podcast and whatnot, and then it was just, I don't know, you said something about, I don't know what it was, but whatever it was, I was like, oh no, did she say something last night? Was that something about somebody or something. I'm like, oh man,
It's
I
like a
don't know
strange man's coming to visit
Yes,
me.
it's
No,
like, did she
I
say
did
someone's
not.
knocking at her door or something like that? And I'm like, no, she's not responsive. I mean, I've been over this. Like, it happens I was telling you that it happens with Jackie from time to time, where she goes for a walk or something and doesn't tell me, leaves her phone at home. And I'm like, oh, she was for sure kidnapped. So yeah, I mean, thanks for the heart attack. Appreciate it. Don't let it happen again.
You're welcome. Harsh but fair.
This is going to be tough. I told you a couple weeks ago, I said, after we get this done, that'll kind of conclude our business, at least to this point. It's been a pleasure. So I don't really have anything super negative to say. I'm kind of at a loss. Usually it's pretty easy for me to be mean, but I guess the first thing that came to mind was I always heard about Big E, Big E, Big E, Big E. And when I first met you, this was like years ago now, but I said, I was expecting a guy who's like a giant. I'm like, this guy's not that big. And then I found out that he lost like 100 pounds.
300.
300 pounds.
I was 680 at one point in time.
What?
I had a gastric sleeve, gastric bypass in Tijuana, Mexico. I gamble every day. That was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I'm literally half the size.
So I guess my harsh but fair here is that your name is misleading. Maybe we should edit to like medium E.
Yeah, well, yes, plenty of people have said that. He used to be Big E. Now he's just E.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
All right. You want to try to be mean to us, Eve?
So I'm going to give it a try. But
Let's go.
The truth is, I hardly know you at all, so it's kind of hard to say some mean things. The one thing I will say is you're so bubbly, it makes me uncomfortable. It's like, what's really going on here?
That's how I can tell you've not played poker with Caitlin, because when you play poker with Caitlin, that all goes by the wayside. All of a sudden, it's needles and yeah. It's like harsh but unfair with Caitlin when you're at the poker table.
It's harsh but fair. I'm an Uber cunt. I want to win.
And Craig, I mean, maybe I'm just a nice guy. I don't know. I don't have anything bad to say.
Make fun of how small he is.
You've done everything you've ever said you'd do. I mean, you're a man of your word. I don't know what to say negative about you.
You could call me a nit/hypocrite.
Well,
or a tight ass. It sounds like you're describing a tight ass.
Poker with you is you're not going to get much money out of this guy. He's pretty tight.
You're terrible for the game, Craig. Terrible.
I mean, at the end of every episode, I remind people not to be a nit, and then it seems like every time I play and Caitlin's around, she's like, "You have the nuts again? Fuck off! You're the biggest false advertiser ever."
He's feeding his family, y'all. He doesn't have to be good for the game.
There you go.
He's not. He doesn't bring the kind of flavor I have. All right, y'all. This has been the Texas Poker Experience. Thanks to our sponsors, Double Down Casino Events and Sear Poker Tables, a.k.a. Night Owl Poker Tables. Huge thanks to our guest, Big E. Please find yourself at Red Star Social at the earliest convenience. I'll be there on Thursdays if you ever want to play 510 with me at 2 p.m. You can use Poker Atlas to get on the list for any of these games. Do you have any promos or events coming up that you'd like to plug?
Well, I will say that we're having a very successful Big O game on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Several of them have run 24 hours straight. Tons of action. We recently had a couple of different promos where we gave away a bunch of big screen TVs and other things. I don't have any other promotion on the horizon right this minute, but
other than giving people and honoring the hours from both APP and Palms. If you had time at either of those clubs, they've got you taken care of.
Absolutely. Yeah. We are currently calling all past APP players and Palm players a few every day and telling them what they have. Lots of people still don't know we're doing that. They're very surprised. Like, why? Well, to me, it needed to be made right.
I agree.
My people played at Austin Poker Palace. They were not taken care of. I literally bought this place to fix that problem.
Aww.
That's cool. Yeah. And speaking in terms of promotions, I think we'll do this meetup game at some point.
Absolutely.
I would love that. I hope we do. And I'll play your short deck with you.
All right.
Love it.
Heads up short deck, me and E going at it.
All right.
Love it. And if you're around this weekend, I'm going to be on a all-female ladies stream on 52 Social. I believe we're playing 1-3 or 2-5. My girl Anastasia's going to be there. I think Bianca's going to be there. Lori's going to be on the mic. Should be a really fun time.
Should I bring my Caitlin Komeski fathead? Go, Caitlin! Go! Can I rail?
You can rail me anytime.
That's terrible.
Thank you so much for listening to the Texas Poker Experience. I'm Caitlin Komeski. That's Craig Sear. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment. Follow us on Instagram if you haven't already. That engagement is the difference. And one last thing. Craig and I receive a lot of personal, private DMs and text messages from people letting us know that they're listening and enjoying. And we so appreciate those private messages. But if you could make them public and put them on a public feed, that would so help us. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to put the straddle on.
And don't be a nit like me.
Goodbye.